Hi everyone, Tracy here in our brand new time slot of, let's see, it's 6 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. Not sure what that is for your time, but I must admit that I'm kind of enjoying the new time slot already. I got to have enjoy a nice dinner and now I'm drinking coffee. So I got a whole day of work done, and then I could hop into this and start talking to people, which is kind of nice. It seems to be a better vibe than doing it during the afternoon. So I might try it for a few weeks and see how it goes. If you're here, please say hi and comment so that I know you're here, and then I can wave at you too. So we'll see how this one goes and see who turns up. I'm kind of curious to see how many people do turn up. Should be interesting. I can see Audrey's here already. Hello, Audrey. Okay, so yeah, not a lot of news right now. I think the biggest piece of news is that Ashes of Pride is now live for pre-order. That's book number 10 in the Scandalous Scion series. There is a link here. Oh, hello, Teresa. There's a new name, Teresa. Sorry, Teresa. But hello and welcome. And Kathy, of course, hello. Thank you for coming. Thanks for stopping by. I've got a few links I'm going to be dropping into comments tonight. Just bits and pieces based on emails that I got asking some fairly odd questions. But anyway, I'll be putting those in. So this is the first one. I'm just dropping it in. It is the link for the pre-order page for Ashes of Pride, which is book number 10 of the Scandalous Scion series. We're kind of coming down to the wire on that one, where there's only 3, after this one is released, there's only 3 more to go in the entire series. And if you've been following the series all along, you probably know what the 3 are, because I've been setting them up for books and books and books. So you could probably tell me who the heroines are going to be for those 3 books. Be interested. If you think you know, why don't you put your guesses in comments and I'll tell you how close you've come. So let's have a look. Sandy, hi Tracy, a lovely sunny sunset in Ontario. G'day mate, hello, Canadian, cheers. Teresa is either or, okay. So I'll stick with Teresa because it rolls off the tongue easy for me, but it's a pretty spelling that way. I might have to steal that one of these days for one of my books, we'll see. Beth Sioko, hello. I probably messed that up, but hello. Nice to see you here. I don't think I've seen you in a live feed before. And Nancy, hello Nancy. Love this series. Yes, Nancy, it's I think my most popular series of all time ever. When I was going full tilt on Kiss Across Time, that was my most popular series for a while, but I haven't got to that one for a while. So the sales for Scandalous Scions are certainly up there. Anyway, that's probably the only news this week. But I did want to reward everyone who turned up tonight. So I'm going to give you a coupon. The only thing is I'm not going to write the coupon in comments. So I'll give you a few seconds here. If you've got a piece of paper and a pen, bring it to one side so that you can write this down, because if I put it in comments, then people who don't come and sit through the video just get the coupon. They just scrape through and get the coupon that way. So this is a reward for and a thank you for turning up tonight. It is a coupon for 10% off any book on my site except for those that are on sale, and there's not too many of those. Of the, I think it's 150 titles I've got at the moment. The only ones that are currently on sale have got the pre-orders, and I think there's only 2 pre-orders at the moment that are discounted. So this will get you just about anything you want. It expires on April 22nd. Okay, now, have you got your pen and paper? Does everyone want to hit the like button so I can see if everyone's ready for the coupon code? If you miss it, don't worry too much. You can always come back to the replay later and get it. Just take a note of how many minutes in we're in right now. I think it's, let me have a look, 5 minutes and 29 seconds. So you can always come back to 5 minutes and 29 seconds later and get the coupon code then. So you ready? Okay, here's the coupon. The number 5, the letter P, the letter Q for Queen, the letter Z for zebra, or zebra if you're North American, the letter T for Tracy, twice, so it's TT, the number 7, the letter R for Robin, the letter F for Finch, and the letter S for Slithering Snakes. And that's the code. You can use that code to get 10% off any of my books on my site, and I will quickly put that in. HTTPS Cooper-Posey.com. There's my site. If you go there, you can browse if you look up the book lists, and that'll get you started. You can have a browse through everything I've got, see what inspires you. So just quickly again, I'll repeat that coupon in case you missed one of the letters. It's the number 5, P for Peter, Q for Queen, Z for Zebra, T for Tracy, T for Tracy, the number 7, R for Robin, F for Frank, and S for Snake. The coupon expires on April 22nd. So that gives you a week. Okay, I'm just going to have a look at comments. There's a few here. Tamara, hi, hello. Nancy, thank you. You're welcome. Beth, welcome. There's my comment. Capital letters. Sandy, no, everything is lowercase. There's no capital letters in that. There's just the numbers and the lowercase letters. That's it. And Kathy, you're welcome. Thank you. So let's hop into the content, the mailbag. I actually ended up getting even more emails after I sent out the email the other day saying what this Facebook Live was going to be about. If you've got any questions at all, doesn't matter what, throw them into comments now. There is a 30-second delay before what I'm saying catches up with you. So if you've got any questions at all, doesn't matter what, throw them into comments and I will answer them on the fly. Whereas some of the comments and questions that I got in email, I've had a chance to do a little bit of prep. So I'll get going on some of these and then I'll come back if you guys have got any questions yourself. If you're watching this in replay, because I know there's a lot of people that don't do Facebook, but they will watch this video in replay on YouTube. If you're watching this on replay, you don't have to miss out. You can still email me and send me your question, and there will be future Ask Me Anythings, and I'll be able to answer them then. Or if it's a really interesting question, I may put it in the email out to the general list, just so everyone can catch up. So let's have a look. Oh, I do like my after dinner coffee. So, okay, we had a couple of questions that were along the same line. Laurie asked originally, that was the first question. Laurie asked, is it true your husband was a professional wrestler? What was his stage name? And then Catherine also wrote, so he was a wrestler, and what was his name? So there's been a few people kind of curious. There's a lot of new people come on the list, so you may not have caught up with some of the weird and wonderful facts about my life. So yes, it was true. Mark was a professional wrestler for 10 years. He's retired now, and actually he was really lucky because a lot of professional wrestlers are forced to retire because of injury and severe injuries, that can disable them, or they get hooked on painkillers. There's some really nightmarish scenarios for long-term wrestlers. But Mark managed to get out of the industry after 10 years. He retired without any major disabling injuries. So he was very lucky. He had a great 10-year run. He used to wrestle as Mr. Intensity. So if you do a search for Mark Posey, Mr. Intensity, you'll actually find some of his matches online. I think there's some on YouTube, others are just uploaded to sites. But there's quite a few of them out there. He mostly was doing the indie circuit in Canada. Canada is a very big pro wrestling country. There's a lot of indie outfits all across the country. He was the Monster Pro Wrestling heavyweight champion for many years. And I think one of the highlights of his career was that he fought the MWA world heavyweight champion. At the time, that was Adam Pearce. He fought Adam Pearce for the belt. So that was kind of a pretty big deal. And as it happens, that particular match is also available online. So you can get to see Mark when he was carrying quite a bit more muscle than what he is these days. So you can check out him and Adam Pearce in that title fight. And I'm just going to put the link in now so that you can see it. Let's see if that pops up. Okay, it's a YouTube link, so there you go. It's the Gold Dragon Wrestling. So you can get to see that one. And if you are a wrestling fan, or your husband is a wrestling fan, if you do a search for Mark Posey, Mr. Intensity, you'll find quite a few other matches out there as well. Okay, now the other questions. Yes. Jennifer wanted to know, what are your cat names? And Catherine asked, tell me about your fur babies. And they are. And Jenny C said, how many cats do you have? We have 3 cats. We have Mary, Pippin, and Strider. And goodness me, I think somebody in our household likes Lord of the Rings. Anyway, my cats are better than your cats. Of course, they're my cats. But it seems to be a thing for writers to be into cats in a big way. There's quite a lot of them out there. But I've done several posts over the years about cats and authors, including my cats. But this one I'm going to pop up for you in comments. This post has got pictures of all 3 cats. So if you want to actually, you could click over there in a new window and actually check out the cats while I'm talking, and then you'll still be able to hear me while I'm talking while you're checking out my cats. So we have 3. I don't think we're ever going to get any more, although the 3rd one was actually a rescue. And we thought we were never going to get more than 2. So I won't say absolutely we'll ever have more than 3, because you never know what's around the corner. But it is our intention right now just to have the 3. They're more than a handful. Anyone who says cats do not have a personality has never really got to know a cat very well. They have very distinct personalities. Pippin is he's the alpha cat, and very proud, and gets very embarrassed if he's caught cuddling Mary. Mary is the lady. She bosses the other 2 around and whacks them across the head if they don't do what she wants. So she's very stubborn. And Strider is just flat out crazy. I think he's the rescue, and he was abandoned in a barn at Christmas. So possibly there was some mental instability there. I'm not sure. Anyway, he's just flat out crazy. He leaps in the air for no reason and races around the room and pants like a dog, chases his tail. He's hilarious. So yes, he's completely crazy. Just checking for more comments. Nothing so far. Okay, on to more questions. I got one from Nick. It was one email, but it ended up being two questions. It was, sorry, two emails, but it was basically one question. The first email says, "You're Australian?" ? And the second one was, "Hang on, you're Canadian?" So yes, I'm actually Australian Canadian. I moved from Australia to Canada in 1994 because I met Mark online a year before. And I think we were one of the very first couples to start up a relationship online. These days it's so common, everyone's doing it, but the authorities, the Canadian authorities, weren't quite sure what to do with me. But I got in, and I've been here ever since. There is, if you're curious, and here's another link for you. I'm putting this in. It's a podcast that I did for The Prolific Writer. And it's supposed to be a podcast for writers, but the entire podcast that I did was basically a very long story about me and my life and how I got to Canada and the timing involved and Mark and things like that. So if you're curious, check out that podcast where I talk extensively about my life and how I got into writing and things like that. Any questions? So I'm moving through these pretty fast, so let me know. Okay, and okay, two related questions that were sort of similar, a little bit different, but sort of similar. Perry asked, "How do you get so many books written?" And Dawn asked, "Do you write all of your own books, or do you have writers that put together a skeleton shell for you?" Which I thought was kind of curious, because my understanding is that James Patterson does that. He writes extensive outlines, and then other writers write the books for him, and they get co-writer acknowledgement on the cover, but the book goes out under his name, and that's how he manages to get so many books written each year. And of course, there was all the big fuss recently about authors using ghostwriters to write copious amounts of books for them, which they put out under their own name. So I can sort of understand their question. It's an interesting one. But here's the facts. Yes, I write all my own books. Nobody else writes them. Nobody gives me outlines. I plot them myself. I do actually everything myself. The only thing I don't do is covers because I'm not a graphic designer, and I don't do the editing because no writer can edit themselves. They just suck at it. So I have editors and proofreaders. I also have a bookkeeper. No one is a full-time employee of mine. Everyone is just a contractor of one sort or another. But everything else I just do myself. So all the books, all the business stuff, all the content for emails, all the blog posts, everything like that, I do myself. Particularly with the emails and the blog posts, I know some authors farm that out to people who do the marketing for them, but that kind of feels disingenuous to me. I prefer to be able to talk one-to-one to people. So that's why I did a Facebook Live once, and there was no one came except for one person, and I believe that was Audrey. Hi, Audrey. And it was so awkward to have just the one person there when I could talk to her just by email or something like that. So we ended up not doing the Facebook Live that day, which was really interesting because it taught me that I really like having everyone there to talk to when I'm doing these things. And I thought I was a classic introvert, which I am. But apparently I like having people on the other side of the camera. It helps. So I get so many, just to get back to the question, I get so many books written because I spend a lot of time working. I spend 10 to 12-hour days, 6 days a week. Quite often my Sunday gets roped in there too. If I get behind or something is going on that requires a lot of work, I'll drop everything and I'll hop into Sunday as well. It kind of, it works quite well for us because Mark is also getting into writing as well. And he does my editing now, my line editing, but not the proofing. And he's doing his own writing as well. So we've got to the very nice place where not only am I writing full-time and spending all my days immersed in story, but I get to spend all my personal time talking the business and stories as well, which is really, really nice. But that is one of the reasons why I managed to get so much done, is that pretty much that's my entire focus. Sometimes, well, last year, Christmas, I spent 6 weeks. I took 6 weeks off because my mum came from Australia. And while she was here, I made things, which was great. Got to make a lot of things, jewelry, clothing, Christmas presents. I made some really interesting stuff. I've put it up. I've put photos up before showing people some of the stuff that I've done. But that's something I only get to do very rarely. So otherwise, I'm just working. Now, if you are a writer and you're interested in this sort of stuff, productivity, prolificacy, and I am quite prolific, I have another website that I do called The Productive Indie Fiction Writer. It is for writers, it's not for readers. It's purely about how to get more books written, how to schedule your time, how to get past procrastination and resistance and things like that. So I'll just put that link in comments for you. So check that out after the video. You might find some useful content there too. Now there's a few more comments, so I'm just going to have a quick look. CJ Baldwin, how often do you get to travel and where is your favorite destination? Good question. I very rarely travel, not because I don't want to, but because I spend most of my time writing. Plus, Mark is still working a day job at the moment, so it really depends on when he has time off. And I could travel alone if I wanted to, but I prefer to go with him because most of the travel that I do would be publishing and writing related, and he's interested in that too, which is another nice part of having a writer for a husband. I will be traveling to Calgary in August for a conference, which I'll get to in a few minutes. We're also talking about maybe going to London for the book fair next year. We keep talking about that, but we haven't got there yet. We've done a few conferences in the United States. Probably won't be doing the United States for a while, but we have no other plans. So no, I would love to be one of these writers that drops, you know, $15,000 to go off and do all their on-hand research in the Caribbean for the next book. That would be really nice. But I'm cranking out a book every 4 weeks or 3 weeks, so I really can't break off and go do the 6 months worth of research in the sun, which would be very nice. But Audrey, what do you read for fun if you have time? Yeah, very interesting question, Audrey. Very convoluted response. I have a lot of old favorites that I tend to go back to. They're my comfort reads. I think off the top of my head, I think Mary Stewart's Merlin series is one, for example, that I'll reread and reread. Lord of the Rings, and I've got quite a few others, but I will quite often go back and reread those. Reading for fun, though, I don't get to do very often. I have, as you can imagine, a fairly limited amount of spare time. So the reading that I do squeeze in, is usually, it's either nonfiction to do with publishing and writing, or it's fiction that I'm reading to keep up with what's happening in the industry. Sunday, I downloaded, I think, a dozen romances in historical and science fiction romance and stuff like that. Not to read so much for pleasure, but to read and see what everyone else is doing in the industry to keep up that way. And of course, the other reading that I do is a lot of nonfiction that's research for books. So I do a lot of reading of historical books. The latest one I've read was a book about the Celts. And look at this. Ha! It just so happens that I've got it here. And as you can see, it's got lots and lots of tabs and highlighting in it and stuff like that. This is having a lot of influence on the Once and Future Hearts series, King Arthur, because it's right around that time. Yeah, so the books get squeezed in there, but I don't really get to read for fun anymore, unfortunately. The most fun I get is about 30 seconds before I fall asleep at night. I might have one book on the go that's purely just for me to relax and go to sleep. So, Sandy, just curious, Game of Thrones fan? Oh, yes, huge Game of Thrones fan. We've been watching it since the beginning, but we're binge watchers. So what we do is wait until the season is over, which usually requires going around going la 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 la, not listening to anyone, not listening. But we wait for the season to be over, and then I think we watch all 10 episodes in about 3 or 4 nights. We just like race through the thing. It's stunning how fast we get through it. So we've been watching it all along. Interestingly, I have got the very first book, which is can't quite remember what the first book is called. I've got it on my cell phone, my ebook reader. This is my ebook reader. Never really got into it. I think because it's such a huge investment in time to read that big a book. And for the same reason, I don't read Lord of the Rings very often anymore either. I tend to just watch the movies because I can watch the extended edition in 12 hours, whereas it takes 24, 48 hours altogether to actually read the book. But interestingly enough, I did read Lord of the Rings a couple of years ago. I went through all 3 of them. I've got them as electronic books now, which is my preferred way of reading them. There's quite a lot in there that they didn't get on the screen that I was going through and reading it and going, oh, I forgot all about that. Oh, yes, that was very cool. So I think sometimes it's probably worth going back and reading the book, even if the movie is way better, just to find out what didn't make it onto the screen. That adds a lot of richness and detail to the story. So, Sandy, do you work on one book at a time or different books at different stages? Yeah, with the corrections underneath here, I sort of reinterpreted as I went along there, Sandy. I kind of got it. Okay, so I only write one book at a time. So in the morning, from 6 in the morning until noon, I'm just writing or plotting. So I plot and then I write the book. And that I'm only doing that one at a time. I'll only write the first draft one at a time. But in the afternoon, all the books that have had the first draft finished are going through various stages of production. So there's editing and covers and marketing and packaging and all the stuff that goes into getting it formatting, getting it into the EPUB format or developing the print edition. As I said, I do everything myself. So all that stuff happens in the afternoon. And between finishing the first draft and to when the book is published, there is 12 to 15 weeks. Part of that is the book goes to the line editor, which is now Mark. Hi, Mark. And part of it is that it goes to the proofer. I'm also waiting for the cover to come back. Amazon will only let me upload for pre-order less than 90 days from the release date, so I have to wait for that to come up. There's emails to the list to let everyone know about it. All that happens in that 12 to 15 week period after I've finished the first draft. So while I'm writing one book in the morning, the previous usually 3 to 4 books, sometimes 5, depending on how far ahead I get, those 5 books are in various stages of production, and I will be dealing with all of those at the same time in the afternoon. So I only write the one. I'm working on anything up to 6 or 7 books at a time. Plus, because ebooks last forever, there's also lots of revision and review of books that have been published for a year or more. They get updated and reviewed. If anyone sends me typos, I'll fix the typos and re-upload so the next people get a cleaner copy. There is a lot of stuff that happens. So I'm constantly working on basically dozens of books, but I only write one at a time. And I think that's actually the question that you were asking, yes? So let's have a look. No more comments for now, no more questions. And I have one more from the email bag. Lots of people in various ways and various questions and various emails were asking, when are you coming to insert your favorite city, insert your hometown? And I've sort of answered this already and said I would get back to it. I think I've pretty much answered the full question. The only definite plans I have at the moment is that I will be in Calgary in August at the When Words Collide conference, which is in the South Delta. If you live in Calgary and you'd like to catch up, email me. I'm more than happy to say hello, have a coffee with you, and talk to you. So not a problem. I don't have any other definite plans. As I mentioned before, we're sort of talking about maybe doing the London Book Fair next year in March. I think it's March or April. But that's not confirmed yet. If you're on my email list, I will, if I have plans to head to another city, I will put those plans on the email list and invite anyone who lives in that area to catch up with me. It's always great to meet you and chat and find out about your life and how my books fit into it too. So let me have a look here. Oh, cold coffee. Ugh. Okay. No more questions right now. We're at the 33-minute mark. I'll ramble on for a few seconds if you have any more questions. I'm out of mailbag questions, so that's done there. Wait to see if anyone has any other questions, comments, reactions. What do you think of this new time slot? Does this work better for you? Do you prefer in the afternoon? If you're in, that's a North American afternoon. I know it's very late for Britain, and I suspect that most of the Australians have missed out because of this time slot. But there does seem to be more people that I can see. There's like 8, 9, 10 people watching at the moment. So if this works better for you, let me know. And I think I'll experiment with it for a couple of weeks because it does seem to work better for me too. It means I can get a full day of work in at the desk before coming and talking to you guys. So Teresa is, yes, it's much better for her. Good to know. Becky, hello Becky. I like evenings since I work in the daytime. Yeah, I suspected that was the case for a lot of people, Becky, but the original 2 p.m. Mountain Time slot was because that actually suited a lot of people right around the world. The Australians could come in and the Brits were late at night, so they didn't miss out either. The only problem with 6 p.m. for me is that only North America is kind of included as a live, but I wanted to see if it was more convenient for more people at this time to see who would tune in. So at the moment, it seems to be working okay. So Audrey, thank you. Tracy, I'm retired, so this time is usually good. Good to know. And Sandy, it's an okay time for me. Does seem to work okay for me too. So I think we'll run it for a few weeks and see how it goes. And if everyone's still enjoying it, we might make it a permanent time slot. So if there are no other questions, I think we'll call a halt for tonight. And I will catch up with you next week. Sorry, Angie. Hello, Angie. This time's better for me also. Good. Yep. All right. Now, if for some reason you missed out on the coupon, email me and I'll give it to you again. Like I said, I don't really want to put it in comments because that rewards people that don't watch the video, which I think is not fair. I think we all got to watch the video, so should they. So if you missed out on the coupon, let me know and I will email it to you. Don't forget it expires in a week, so you do have to grab that one. And if you need to email me, it is tracy@tracycooperposey.com. You can also find the email link at the top of this page. So other than that, I think we'll call it done for tonight. Sandy, a fun question day. Yeah, it was not too bad. It was I was starting to build up the emails there with some of the stranger questions. So I thought I would add it in and throw it in and see what came up. So thank you everyone for coming, and I will see you next week.